Joanna versus Weili. Guys, I don't know where to begin on this because of the retirement. Right, this is a death. It's the death of a career. But boy, is there anybody that we've come along with more? You could probably name some athletes where you've been right there with them. Equal. I'm asking you more than Joanna. She's a very rare thing. She is so... Joanna came into the UFC and had a fight. I can't remember who she fought. All of a sudden, she's going to be fighting Rose for the championship of the world. And this was skinny Joanna. She had 23 years old. She's this Polish gal. Like, we hadn't had a whole bunch of Polish fighters. Okay, what do we expect over here? What's going on? She had this fly leather jacket. Do you guys remember leather jacket Joanna? Because that was a whole other Joanna. So Joanna's doing this thing, and she was in everybody's face, which simply had not been done by the women before. The closest that we had gotten was Ronda Rousey, but Ronda did not go as far at that point as Joanna did. Joanna was further. She was the first. Joanna was the first girl to create those kind of problems. And she didn't do cursing. She didn't do it through putting you down. She was stern, she was intense, and she was sincere. When Joanna came out and told you, the audience, I'm going to beat somebody's ass, you believed her. You believed. You remember leather jacket Joanna. Truly. It was a time. Showed up at every press conference with it. But she used to do this. She used to just hold up the finger, right? The number one. We've seen people do that. Boss Rutan used to do that. Chris Lieben had the one finger. She used to do this. She gets in a face-off with Carla Esparza. So Esparza, apparently, who was the champion of the world, apparently did not follow Joanna enough to know this is Joanna's thing. So they're doing a face-off, and they get face-to-face. I mean, girls are always as sweet as cake to each other, right? So they get off, they're doing their face-to-face, and you got Carla up there, and she's smiling. She's got the belt. She's going to come out and defend it. Leather jacket, Joanna steps forward and puts up the one. So Carla's like, oh, cool, we're doing the one, and Carla throws up a one. Now, you must understand to appreciate the story in case you missed it. Carla's the champion of the world. She's got the 12-pound gold belt right here over her shoulder. So she throws up a number one. She thinks we're doing a little photo op and we're going to shake hands and I'll see you tomorrow. Joanna says to her, you don't hold up number one. You are not number one. You put that down. You put your finger down. And Rose, I apologize, and Carla put that finger down. And I remember that moment because that moment, everything changed. Carla was going to beat her. Carla was the favorite with maybe a 2.5 to 1 favorite. Carla put that finger down and her body language changed. She just didn't know. She just didn't know. She never had anybody in competition in her wrestling days, which is all about sportsmanship or even MMA. Up until that very moment, she never had anybody do this to her. And I remember that moment. I remember leather jacket Joanna telling the champion she's 23 years old. That's all she's 115 pounds. She comes into press conferences and she's running the show. I remember that. And right after that, we had what's called a fighter summit. Dana Lorenzo brought everybody, all 556 athletes from around the world. They bring them out to the Red Rock. We got classes for 3 or 4 days, right? Anyway, I remember being there, and I could name drop on you. I mean, anyone you could think of that was there 10 years ago was in that room. Anyone. I was sitting next to Ronda on one side and Alistair Overeem straight behind me, just for perspective. But anyone we're all there. Dana's there. Lorenzo's there. When I tell you we're all in one room, Joanna comes walking in the room in that leather jacket, by the way. People start turning. They start talking. I hear fellow fighters, stars, pay-per-view stars, champions. I hear them saying, that's her. They're whispering, that's her. That's the Polish girl. That's Joanna. I'm sharing for you. This girl was massive from Jump Street. You can talk about Conor McGregor rose up the ranks fast. You can talk about how fast Brock did it. You're going to tell the story of instant stardom and you leave Joanna out, you have lost credibility. She is awesome. And one thing that Joanna does, I think I'm chauvinistic. I think that I am, but I know I don't want to look it. I know I don't want you to see it. But I will share with you, I've never said that I look up to a female fighter. I haven't said those words before. I haven't said that I look up to somebody who's younger than me. I haven't said I look up to somebody who's smaller than me, right? I mean, there's like a code on who people choose to emulate. I admire her so much. And you want to know what? You want to know what she does and always has done that I wish I could have? She competes. She competes no matter what. You can talk about her kickboxing, her grappling, her MMA. You can go through the list. You're missing the great intangible. You're missing what is in here. And she showed it tonight. This sport is presented to you as a battle of skill. It's the punches and the kicks of one person versus the punches and kicks of another. That's how it's presented to you. Anybody who does this sport knows it's got nothing to do with that. I'm going to make you quit before you make me quit, or I'm not. That is all we're testing when we get in there. And we'll talk about our teams and our trainers and our childhood, and we'll bow and pay our respects based on what discipline we come from. We will play along to the narrative that it's your skills versus mine. But we know you're either going to make me quit or I'm going to make you quit. That's what we're doing. And Joanna was in 3 different positions tonight. 3 different positions where she could have checked out and nobody would have questioned it. She could have found a submission. She could have stayed against the fence. She could have let the referee jump in there and stood up and acted like it was a quick call. There's all sorts of things that fighters did it all night long. They do it every single night. And we don't ever call them on it because we all do it. We just act like, oh, that's what it... She didn't do any of them. She fought her ass off. That fight wasn't at all about I quit or you quit. Weili had to put her down. She had to put her down. That's the only way to beat her. Do you know how honorable that is? If you go out like that and that is how you are remembered by your fellow fighters, as a fighter's fighter to the bitter effing end, no matter what, if that's how you're remembered, I don't know if that sounds cool to you. I don't know that for sure. I can just tell you at the locker room. That is all anybody wants. They'll put that in front of the millions of dollars. They'll put that in front of all of the fame. And they'll put that in front of the championship. They want to be remembered as somebody who fought hard and had heart the whole time. And that is exactly how Joanna's going out.